All right, once again, everybody, welcome to this week's masterclass. As always, go ahead and pull up the Q&A tab if you're here with us live. And if you're on the replay, make sure to take some notes. Majority of people are on the replay, and you want to make sure to send in your homework if you'd like to get feedback and definitely interact with the video. So let's get into this week's class, and we had put into the poll here. If you're limited to just one color personality for sponsoring, which color personality would you choose? And very interesting, all over the map, not what I expected, but 44% said blue, 21% said yellow, red at 12, and green at 22. The majority said blue. Very interesting. I would have, doesn't matter what I would have thought most people would have said, but it's very cool to see everyone's opinion. I know it's an extremely difficult question if you only had to choose one, but blue was the winner for the live class, so that's pretty cool. All right, we have some Q&As coming in. So yes, do you have any questions and interactivity, definitely pull up that Q&A tab. And with that, Tom, I will throw it over to you.
Okay, and if you happen to be a certain color personality, there's a chance that you might want to sponsor people the same color personality because we can relate better. So if you happen to be a yellow personality, just enjoy helping people, you might relate better to other yellow personalities. But of course, what we want to do is eventually master all of them. Anyway, let's move on to the email solicitation or message solicitation example. And here it is. It's a cold one. I would like to ask you for less than 10 minutes of your time. Already we know we're in deep trouble. To watch our overview video, not even the real video, just an overview, which is just a preliminary to a longer commercial, and give me your feedback. You say, all right, so what we want is other people to take their time and give you feedback. Actually, it's probably a sales pitch. Additionally, one or more things could naturally come out of this too. Here is the link. Remember, this is an example of our competition. We can get down to a better benefit, solving a problem, maybe a better rapport. And you say, well, this is pretty bad. And the answer is most of our competition is very bad because they don't work on it. So what we want to do is get better at all the areas of our business. So let's move on. Remember our rating system from last week. Last week we had a 0 for hopeless, 1 for not very good, 2 for average, and 3 for great. And we ask everybody to rate themselves and say, okay, what we're going to rate ourselves is on these 4 things: the quantity of prospects contacted, the quality of those prospects, C would be the skills we use to talk to those prospects, and last of all, the self-image that we have of ourselves. So that was our rating system. So what we'd like you to do is review that again and take a look at ourselves, and we're going to do a little, not a test here, but to show you how we can double our business very, very quick. So in the Q&A, what is your current score based upon the criteria we have, with 0 being a nothing, 1 being not very good, 2 being average, and 3 being good? So quickly rank yourself on the quantity of prospects, the quality, the skills, and the self-image. And do your little multiplication thing at the end. And let's see what kind of scores we have. And remember, whatever score we come up with, just a couple things can just make it so much better. And Keith, what do we have for some just some random number scores that are coming in?
We are 100% all over the place. The honest, just getting started or rebooting. The ones, the perfects to the 81s, 2. So working on it. Have one thing that's not a 1. You have one that's a 2. 1 times 1 times 1 times 2. 16, 6, 24, 6. Yeah, definitely all over the place. But I guess the best thing is to figure out where you start, and then we know what to improve. So yeah, keep these coming in.
So if you look at this chart right here, I want you to notice that the skills are at a 1, which is not very good. And what we're going to do is just increase our skills from not very good to average and see what happens to our score, how we're going to take it up from 6. So here in the next slide, you can just see the math from it. And you can see by making our skills better, we've doubled our score from a 6 to a 12. Twice as effective when we go out and talk to people. Now, we're doing a book study club on the offers book, and just giving people a good offer is kind of a substitute for skills for them when they get started, because they don't have very many skills yet. But if we can just upgrade our skills, it'll give us an instant doubling of whatever we had so far. So let's take my score for that. All right, let's take a look at this coffee session. You sit down with people, and you say, all right, my score for my coffee session is 2 times 1 times 4, whatever comes up to be. And you say, I need to improve the quality of my prospects. Yeah, that was number 2. And also my skills. So I say, okay, what can I do each week to just get a little bit better in each one? So here is the number 1 question that people are going to have. Well, how do I double my skills fast? And what we're going to do is probably the fastest way of doubling our skills and looking pro in a heartbeat we'll cover this week. And of course, we're covering questions. Just by asking questions, we go from being a salesman to be like a consultant or somebody that's a good counselor for people. And it changes the dynamics. It changes how they react to us just by just asking a few more questions. So we don't have to be like this picture here of the dog, but, I have questions. But the point is, if we would consider, before I recommend or even try to sell something to somebody, maybe I should ask a couple diagnostic questions first, because if I ask a question, I'll have their attention. They'll get to talk about themselves, their favorite subject. I'll build rapport. Questions can actually be the fastest way to just rock our skills. So let's get into some questions right away. Here's the first one. Benefit versus hook. Let's take a look at the difference. I'm going to ask you to vote which one do you think is better. Approach number 1. You should buy this food supplement. It will extend the benefits of this workout. Approach number 2. How long do you want the benefits of this workout to last? And ask yourself, which one would have more effect on a prospect? If you think about this and try it in real life, here's what we're going to find out. We're going to find out that benefits are great, but people don't do much for benefits. They have a program in their mind that says, stay where you are, keep your energy, and that's how it is. But we say, well, how long do you want the benefits of this workout to last? Now, this is kind of a hook. Now we're asking them to say, well, how much longer do you want it to be? And they say, well, longer, that means I'm going to have to be doing it. And they start setting a time. So the second one had more of a hook, more of a way of being interesting for them. Now, as we do these questions, just remember there's 4 reasons people will say no to our incredible offers. As we ask these questions, a lot of people are going to say no. As very quickly, they don't want what we are selling. Okay, we can accept that. They can't afford what we're selling. I'll probably disqualify them. They don't believe us because we haven't built very good rapport, not good rapport skills, or they don't understand our confusing offers. And to give you an idea of a confusing offer, remember I had to go watch a 10-minute overview before I could even start getting to an offer. You say, that's just way too hard for people. So people will say no, and some of these reasons are legitimate, but what we're going to do is up our odds on everybody else. So let's start with one of the most effective questions that we could ask, and that is, what are your 2 biggest? You say, so what are your 2 biggest health concerns? Or what are your 2 biggest skincare problems? Or what are your 2 biggest problems with your job? And when we ask these questions, people say, all right, I get to talk about me. I get to complain. The more problems I have, the more you will love me. And I like to complain. It's human nature. So if you say, what are your two biggest skincare problems? They might say, well, I have an oily patch on my forehead, and I have mixed skin over here on this cheek, and I have these pimples that come out, and my dry, flaky skin, leaves little skin flakes on the sofa. When my dog jumps on it, then the skin flakes go everywhere, and I have wrinkles so deep I can store food in them. And you think, I only asked for two, but they get carried away. You say, if I start with that question, what are your two biggest health concerns, skincare problems, investment challenges, problems with your job, people will run with the opportunity to complain. And of course, there's so many follow-ups we could use after they complain. Say, would you like to do something about it? Would you like to fix it? Have you ever considered doing something about it? But those are just effective questions that we could teach a new person and they could learn to listen. So in the Q&A, what's your best version of what are your two biggest? What could you use for your business? You say, well, all right, I'm in the insurance business. What could I use for insurance? You might say, well, if you sold investments with the insurance, say, well, what are the two biggest problems you have with trying to save money? Or if you're just worried about the protection, what are the two biggest worries you have about protecting your family? And now people are going to start thinking about the problem. The longer we can keep the problem in their mind, the more important it will be for them to fix the problem. So just getting them to consider it, talk about it, think about it through a question, which forces them to do it because they can't even answer a question unless they have to think about it. Say, so what are my two biggest diet problems? They say, well, exercise, I'm allergic. It makes me break out in the sweat. And I get hungry 24 hours a day. It's impossible. So if you had a question that caused them to just complain about their problems, we probably have a better solution to what they have right now. So Keith, just one or two really quick as we think about what we could use for our best version of the what are your two biggest question.
What are your two biggest job problems or problems at your job? Depends on how you want to word that one. Let's see here, two biggest financial problems, or thinking about insurance. What are your two biggest problems about insurance? I'm sure price will definitely show up on that one. But yeah, it's just pretty much as a blank or fill in the blank. Let's see I'll answer some of these in the background, but yeah, just keep plugging in on these.
Okay, what is happening here is as prospects start to complain, they're actually selling themselves. And prospects do a better job of selling themselves because they believe themselves much more than a salesman. They listen to their voice. Whatever they tell themselves is going to be so much more effective and believable than when we talk to them. Selling themselves rocks. And we don't have to feel pushy that way either. So what's another question we could ask that gets prospects to sell themselves? So this is a business one. We can say, what motivated you to think about a part-time income now? So let's say we're talking to a prospect. And so why do you want to talk about it now? Why do we set an appointment? What's going on in your life that you thought now would be a good time to talk about it? And again, it opens up and they will start selling themselves. You say, wow. So maybe I should do that before I start dumping on my presentation and facts and PowerPoint slides and send them to a video. And the answer is yes. If you build that want before we give them all that information, they're going to pay more attention to the information. You say, okay, but very quickly here, is there a question I could ask so I could get right into my presentation without sounding like a salesman jerk? So here's an example. You could just simply say, would it make sense if I told you how this works? What do you think people are going to say? They're going to say yes almost 100% of the time, unless they're just totally a non-prospect. They don't have the money or don't qualify for it. And all we said was, in a very kind way, would it make sense if I told you, how this thing works? And they go, well, yeah, it would make sense. And if they say it doesn't make sense, it's still not a no. We can continue the conversation. It's not a rejection of us personally. They say, well, it doesn't make sense if you told me how it works now, or who knows the reason. So if you like selling rejection free and talking to people where no stress comes up, would it make sense is a pretty good question to start with. The bottom line is the purpose of business is to solve people's problems, and they don't want to take action on their problems unless they have an emotion to trigger that decision. So emotion creates decisions, and then the decision will create the action, which is, buy product or take advantage of the service, whatever. So emotion creates decision. And you say, well, yeah, that sounds good, but I got all these facts. When do I start putting them in my presentation? So here's a way of looking at it. Facts are nothing more than filler in between questions. Facts don't do much to move the needle, doesn't get people to want to do much, but the emotion does. So what we want to do is just concentrate on the emotion. So what's the fastest shortcut to the emotion? If we remember this from last week and the week before, it's just remember the one word feel. If we get the word feel in any question, we're going to go directly to that emotion. We're going to rock. So here's what we can do with this feel emotion question. There's two quick versions for us to master. The first one, and I'll do examples of both these, is called the benefit version. So if we talk about the benefit, we'll start with how would you feel if, the key word being if. And then we're going to say, how would you feel if you got this particular benefit? Now, the problem version is, how do you feel when something bad happens to you? Say, okay, both those would be pretty easy emotions. Obviously, the problem one's going to be bigger. Let's do some examples here. So let's start with the benefit version first. How would you feel if you got an extra paycheck every week? And again, what are we going to do? Seal our lips, lean back, let our prospects sell themselves of how they would feel. What would they be excited about? What they're going to spend it on? They're going to like that. And all we did was, how would you feel if? It's a very positive way of going for it. We're allowing the prospects to sell themselves. So here's some follow-up questions we could ask to that to make it better. We could continue by saying, what would you spend the extra money or extra paycheck on? And as they say, well, I spent it on this, again, they're selling themselves. The longer they talk about the subject, the more important it's going to be for them, which means there's a better chance of having that emotion and have them take action. So we're going to take it deeper and deeper, the more questions we ask. And you say, well, how deep do I want to go? Well, as deep as you can, because if you communicate very deeply with people, they get it right away. There's no real selling involved. You say, okay, so how would you feel if? Let's do a whole bunch of examples here. You're ready. And when we're through, what would be your example? But this is for the positive approach, not the problem one. For the positive, you say, how would you feel if people complimented you on your glowing skin? We're not talking about problems here. We're talking about glowing skin. And as they say, well, I'd feel great, whatever. They're selling themselves. How would you feel if you knew your retirement plan was secure? I think, well, I didn't even know it was insecure, but yeah, I feel better knowing that it's like guaranteed. How would you feel if you had an extra $200 a week to invest? Well, yeah, it'd be easy to invest if I had extra money. Or how would you feel if you had a 3-day weekend every weekend? And they're thinking, wow, now they're really starting to dream. So, okay, that worked pretty good. How about some more questions? How would you feel if mornings felt great again? And I'm going, well, I can remember when they used to feel great, but man, that'd be great for me now. Or how would you feel if you could put away money now and only pay the tax on it later? Well, that sounds better than paying tax on it now, yeah. Or how would you feel if you knew your family was always going to be taken care of? I feel like a loving father, loving mother, or I'd feel good and responsible. Say, okay, I think I got this. So how would you feel if, and do something relatively positive. So in the Q&A, what's your version of how would it feel if be? What could you say for your business that would have that effect? That I could just ask this one question, let them sell themselves. And that way, if my new distributors learn this question, they wouldn't have to have a high level of skills right away. They could still be making some sales. They could still be signing up people while they learn the better skills. So how would you feel if, and you're thinking, I can't wait for the problem one. Well, we'll do that next, but let's do the positive one first. How would you feel if? So Keith, let me turn it over to you. What do we have here for some suggestions?
We have some really good ones that came in. How would you feel if all of your debts were paid off and you're able to save and invest so you could retire sooner? How would you feel if Mondays felt great again? How would you, that's probably years or decades for most people there. How would you feel if money was no longer an issue? So everybody could use that one. How would it feel if you could be in control of more of your time? How would you feel if your bills were all paid before you wake up? So yeah, excellent. A lot of these people can use for pretty much any opportunity here. Let's see here. How would you feel if you knew your children had a future? Had a stress-free future or stress-free financial future? So many that you can do there. How would you feel if you never worry about money again? So yeah, I could say even though one is financial services, 100% of these kids can use on opportunity. So there you go. You have some good formulas to start off with. Everybody has. So excellent. Keep them coming in.
Okay, so let's ask the question next is, which is the more powerful emotion, benefit, or problem? And of course, we all know it's problems. Problems rock as far as getting people to take action. So let's do the problem version. Are you all ready? And that is, how do you feel, not if, but when? And now we're going to give them like the bad scenario part. So it sounds something like this. How do you feel when the annual job raise is only 5%? Prepare for them to start ranting about 9% inflation, how prices go up way more than that, etc. So, okay, I think I got it. What's some more examples? Let's do some fast examples, and that'll be your turn again. So, some examples. How do you feel fighting traffic every morning at 7 a.m.? Or how do you feel when you toss and turn at night and can't sleep? And allow them to describe it. Or how do you feel when you see how much is left of the paycheck after paying all the bills? And they're going to be reliving that pain as they describe it to us. All right, let's do a couple more to kind of get the grip on this. How do you feel when you count the years to retirement? And I think, I hate my job, I hate commuting, I hate Monday mornings, and it's so long. Or how they say, well, I don't even count my years to retirement, but now I start, now I really hate it. So how do you feel when you get home and feel too tired to spend time with the family? I say, oh yeah, it's pretty bad. Or how do you feel when dieting and the weight just won't come off? And you say, boy, that feels miserable because I starved myself, I ate funny food, I exercised, the weight won't come off. It's just, and they go on and on about their pain. So in the Q&A, what is your best version of how does it feel when And here's our chance to really up the emotion by talking about problems that get them upset. And you say, do I really want them upset about problems? And the answer is yes, because we want them upset enough to say, I want to do something about it starting now. And remember, the longer they describe the problem, the more active they're going to be to try to find a solution to that problem. So, Keith, what do we have here for a couple wins that we have so far?
All right, we have, how does it make you feel when you have to tell your children no? We have, how does it feel when quarterly taxes come due? How does it feel when you can't get time off on Christmas Day? Or you can add anything on that one. How do you feel when you don't get the promotion you hoped would give you extra money? How does it feel when you have to say no to what you know would make you happy because you can't afford it? How does it feel when your financial hole keeps digging deeper every single week? You could do every day, you could do every month. That one's pretty open there. How does it feel when there's enough money to take your wife out for your anniversary? Okay, now we're having fun digging deep here, so keep these coming in.
These could be brutal. And you say, do I want to be that brutal? Well, it depends who you talk to. And remember, like in all the master classes, we cover a lot of ideas. We're going to cover a lot of questions here. You don't have to use all of them. Just pick and choose the best ones that work for you. But remember, one good question could turn a whole career around. Just one question. And for instance, there's a man in Alberta. His one question was, do you know anybody in pain? Built his business just from that one little phrase. But let's move on. Let's take it a little deeper. What can we do when we hear these problems? Remember, the longer they think about it, the better. So we're going to ask more questions about that particular problem. More pain, more motivation, take action now instead of I need to think it over. I got to talk it over with somebody else. It doesn't seem to be a problem right now. The idea is if they have a problem and we have a solution, let's bring it to their attention where they actually notice it. Bring it to the forefront of their consciousness. So that's what we can do. So here's some example questions that we could ask to take it a whole lot deeper. I'll go through these pretty fast, but any one of these could be super helpful. Let's try this. They had a problem. You say, oh, that must have been terrible. And they're going to say, oh, yeah. And what did you do next? And we're extending the story of what happened next. And of course, more time on the problem. Or how did that feel when it happened? We're asking them a feeling question again, and they're going to say, well, inside I felt like this, or I was embarrassed, and I didn't feel good about this. I felt depressed. Or somebody, let's say, with arthritis pain. Did other people know how you felt with, suffering through this pain every morning when you got up with it's hard to walk to go make breakfast for the family? Oh, yeah. Or this one's fun. What's the worst thing about that problem? And they're thinking, wow, let me think of the worst one. Or you could have also said, what are the two worst things about that problem? So, yeah. So now they're thinking even more pain, even more depressing things. It's really ramping up their awareness to the problem. Let's do a couple more here. Can you tell me what happened after that? After you've got that 5% raise notice, it wasn't enough for inflation. So what happened after that? And they say, oh, everybody got together at work and complained over coffee. And then we went home depressed and we just didn't have any other solutions. Okay. Or how did you cope with the situation? Well, we're talking about a problem. They probably still have the problem. And they're going to say, I didn't cope with the situation. I couldn't even fix it. I still feel bad about it. I want to do something about it. So that was a good one to start with. Or was there anyone you could talk to about it? No, when I didn't get the 5% raise, I couldn't tell my family. Other people don't realize how hard it is to have 6 children and only earn basic salary here with no bonuses and stuff at work anymore. Again, what was the most difficult part of the experience for you? I said, okay. Maybe they complained that the cost of their grandmother's funeral. I said, yeah, funerals were so expensive. What was the most difficult part of that experience for you? Well, that they wanted the money right away. And I didn't have the money right away. And I didn't have time to set up my GoFundMe and let them talk. All this will create more emotion. So, wow, that would take it a whole lot deeper. But how about a couple more questions to take it deeper? Are you ready? Did you learn anything from this situation that you can share with me? Now they have to think about the problem even more, because they're going to have to explain to us about the situation. So again, we've dominated the amount of time their brain is spending on the problem. Was there anything positive that came out of this situation? Again, what we're forcing them to do is, now you got to think more about the problem, all right? Or how did you resolve the problem? And we know what the answer is to that one. I didn't. That's why we're still talking about the problem right now. I couldn't fix it. Or did you have any support during this time? I said, not really. I had to do it all on my own. It was all up to me, take care of the family finances. Or I didn't really have any support when I found out about this health problem. And nobody seemed to care. And I couldn't get the insurance company to get my next appointment scheduled. Again, we're just increasing the problem. So those are some examples. But in the Q&A, what other painful questions could we ask so our prospects will spend more time considering the pain of their problems? Remember, how did you feel when? And then after they say how they feel when, we just keep asking and asking. They say, well, how long should you ask? Well, as long as it seems reasonable and comfortable. But very few people get tired of talking about themselves. Remember, we're our favorite subject. And we like to complain. It's a human program. If I complain to you, you will love me more. So I'll go out of my way to complain. And that is why at parties, people just say, let me tell you what happened to me on the way to the party, or what happened to my car, or what disaster happened to me recently. They enjoy saying that. So we're in the business of solving people's problems. Once we know this gets so much easier. So Keith, very quickly, just 1 or 2 examples of how we could up this. And maybe for our homework, we could be reconsidering, hey, I should really up my game here. So what do we have here?
Well, we have everything from how long can you go without creating more income? We also have, if this problem continues, would you be okay with that? So after seeing the pain in your kids' eyes when you told them you couldn't get ice cream, how do you feel? So Tony always has the good ones of humor, something we'll remember. And of course, exaggeration is what we're also going to remember. So those are good as well. So yeah, keep these coming in.
And Tony's an ice cream fan also. So hey, that all works. All right. So you say, could I go even deeper or be more direct? And of course, if you remember from the closing classes, a level 5 close is, are you okay with keeping your problem? And people say, that's pretty direct, pretty brutal. So maybe you might want to use some of these questions first. It depends on our confidence level, who we're talking to, how bad the problem is. But how would that sound? Are you okay with leaving the family unprotected? Are you okay with struggling to lose weight, but it just keeps coming back? Are you okay with allowing nature to age your skin instead of slowing it down? Are you okay with paying full retail for your family vacations when we maybe could have got it at wholesale? Or are you okay with 5 days a week for the boss and 2 days for you? Are you okay with, and you say, oh, all right, that's just a real simple one, but can be brutal, pretty direct. We probably should learn to smile just in case we don't want to offend anybody. But it's one of my favorite closing questions. Are you okay with keeping your problem? Let's move on. Here's a question that we could use to add value to our startup costs. A lot of people say, well, yeah, how do I introduce my $99 package or $500 package or whatever, without giving this really long sales pitch about the value, where you see these infomercials, not only you get this, but you get this, plus but wait, there's more. Is there a better way of doing it with questions? And the answer is, yeah. This one is used by Bernie D'Souza a lot. It says, so how much would it be worth to you? And then we're going to insert what their problem was. So how much is it going to be worth to you to be able to speak in public and never be embarrassed again? Or how much would it be worth to you to have an extra $200 a week? Well, it'd be worth at least $200. That's kind of cheap. Probably be worth $500 at least. And you say, so now we're establishing value just with that question. Or how much would it be worth to you to actually lose weight and you don't have to pay for those gym memberships? Oh, that'd be worth a lot to me. Or how much would it be worth it to you for a good night's sleep if you knew that your children's college education was going to be taken care of? Or how much would it be worth it to you if you could start saving money tax deferred or tax free instead of paying all that money for taxes? It's just a great way of building value. Anybody can do it. But let's move on to some more questions. I hope everybody remembers from the benefit plus permission statements that we can give somebody a benefit and then follow up immediately with a question. And here are the 5 questions I like to point out that people can use. Would you like to know my plan? So somebody said, well, what's new with you? And I says, well, my aunt used to have arthritis, but now she's taking up breakdancing and karate lessons. Would you like to know how she does it? Would you like to know her secret? Or, I'm going to be able to quit my job next year, it looks like. Would you like to know my plan? Or would you like to know what I'm doing to make this happen? And people say, well, those are just really easy permission statements that are questions that are pretty safe. I don't have to worry about any rejection. So if you use benefit plus permission, if you're not familiar with that technique, read the Happy Network Marketer book. It's free for download. If you don't know where to get it, just send us a message. We'll send you the free download link for it to cover this icebreaker permission statements. In the Q&A, are there any other permission statements that you would like to add? Yeah, we have, would you like to know my plan? Would you like to know what I'm doing? Would you like to know his secret? Would you like to know what she did? Would you like to know how it works? Pick what's good for your market and how you like to say it. But just something very simple, very light, will make it easy for you to actually close without ever being pushy. But let's move on. We got some easy referral questions. And if take notes, I hope you take notes on these, because if you can get other people to send you people pre-sold, how cool is that? So you can say, do you know anyone who loves helping people? That's a good question we could ask a yellow personality. Or do you know anyone working 2 jobs? That sounds like a prospect waiting for a business opportunity. Have any friends that just love talking to people? You say, oh yeah, that's going to be the blue personality. Or can you think of someone who would want more tax deductions? You say, oh wow, I'd prospect a lot of green personalities. And then you'd be thinking, oh, I'm not sure if I want to prospect too many green personalities. They spend too much time looking at delaying and stuff and facts. I'd rather talk to the blue personalities. Who knows? But these are just easy referral questions. And if you ask somebody a referral question, you're not asking them to join or make a commitment. You just ask if they know somebody. Again, pretty safe. Here's the next way we could do it. There's something called a knowledge gap. We can create a question that gets them to stop and think. Again, they're going to pay attention. So here's a knowledge gap question. To get rich and retire early, guess which way is faster? You're going to give them three choices: real estate investing, stock investing, or part-time business. Now, whatever they choose is probably okay. But the point is, they're thinking, I don't know the answer. I don't know the correct answer, or I don't know all the answers for this. And we create this knowledge gap, which gets them to say, I need to continue the conversation with you because this is interesting. I want to find out what I don't know. Another way of using questions. You say, wow, what's one more? This is a brutal one. And that is, and you can do this, especially coming up on the holidays, because you're going to see all your family again after 1 year. And you can say, last time we spoke, you mentioned that they had a problem. What has been your progress so far on that? And how would that sound? So you could say, well, last year, we talked, you said, man, I just don't want to waste another year in this job. I need to do something else. How's that coming along this year? Oh, I didn't change jobs. I'm still stuck there. Or you say, well, last time we spoke, you said you're going to try this new diet program you thought would really work for you this time. How's your progress been on that? Oh, well, it just didn't work out. I was just too hungry. Brutal? Yeah, but we can say it with a smile, and we can get right to the point that their current solution isn't working. Now, prospects have lots of questions. When we start doing our presentation, we start with the facts and stuff. They're going to have a lot of questions. So what we have to do is pace ourselves. The worst thing we can do is do a 2-minute monologue without taking a breath. Because what happens is 12 seconds into what we're speaking, it brings up a question. They say, well, I got to remember this question. I got to remember this question for when I finally get a chance to talk again. And they won't hear anything else we say because they can only really hold one thought at one time. So if we ask questions, we're going to listen. And if we do talk, let's make it in short gaps to give them plenty of openings to interrupt and say, I have a question about this. All right. One more thing, the pros. They know about hidden questions. And if you can pick a hidden question that the prospect has but didn't know they had, you created like superhuman rapport. And we talked about this like program 1.5. Can I succeed in this? Or if I get started, do I have to be a salesman? Or so what do I have to do? Most times they won't verbalize this. And a lot of people just have that nagging feeling. They don't really know what's bothering them, but that's just a question like this. So if we can anticipate this and bring this up, we're going to rock. They're going to really respect our ability to read their mind. Here's an example of one more question of the time we have it, and that is, how much does this cost? Now, if we don't tell them how much it costs, what is the question that's going to dominate their mind through our whole presentation? How much it costs? They don't have time to listen to our other stuff because they only can have one thought at a time. So if we have this come up a lot, maybe we can start our presentation by saying, what it cost? You can say, if you're here for the very first time, you're probably wondering how much does it cost to do this weight loss program? And you can say it can cost $175 a month, which is less than a gym membership and a couple diet pills, all the way down to $0. All right. You gave them a range. So they can't really make a total judgment, but they have a range. And they say, okay, I got to listen to everything else so I can determine if it's going to have good value for that. If you don't let people know how much it costs up front, then you feel like pressured at the end. I got to pop the question, do you have an extra $499 to join? Say, well, what could I have done? I could have maybe given them more value. How much would it be worth it to you to be able to quit your job and have a big income? And how much do you think it would cost to start a business like that? So cost is always going to be in their mind. If we can somehow disable that early in the conversation so they're relaxed, it's going to help us a lot. Anyway, our time is up. So next week, have Ask Us Anything coaching call. And remember, ask your most pressing questions, even if they're weird. It's okay. We get some strange ones. We try to answer as many questions as we can. We'll probably combine a few of them, but send the questions to bigalmasterclass@gmail.com and let us know. And next week is always a fun week because let's just put it this way. Some of the questions are extremely interesting. So how about homework? Homework, number 1. How do you feel when? That's the negative one. Says, let's create more of those that we can give our team because they will get some instant results, even though they're just starting and don't have really good skills yet. Homework number 2 is teach our team not to broadcast and sell, but to ask questions instead. Let them know that, I don't know, you can use examples like the people who talk the least make the most sales, or let prospects sell themselves because they do a better job than we can. It's just more effective when we get the prospects to talk. So number 1 is let's create some more. How do you feel? Number 2 is let's get our team to ask more questions before they go right into their sales pitch. And with that, Keith, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, terrific. We appreciate everyone's interactivity. If you were here with us live and definitely on the replay, take some notes, send in your homework. If you'd like to get feedback, it's always optional, but people get the most out of it when you just kind of do a little bit back and forth, and we'd love to have that for you. Also, if you have any issues with accessing your bonus content, let us know. BookFunnel's really easy, or their customer service is very helpful, I should say, with password resets, all those interesting things, and we definitely want you to be able to keep in track when between classes. So with that, we will talk to everybody next week. Have a wonderful day. Thanks again.